starting off. Always had the hustle and the business type mindset of knowing that I wanted to make more and create more, but not knowing the terminology and the reasons why we do certain things um, causes us to struggle. I know it caused me to struggle a lot, and still am, because I'm not aware of the business language or how those things all relate to one another. So as I started to really get into the water business, I started to really find out a lot about how those things um, correlate to one another, how geography and the movement of water and water flow is basically interchangeable in the banking system, and how that relates to commerce, and how that relates to business. And if you have no identity about your business or where your money is going, how are you able to direct the flow of it? How can you understand what you are trying to do with your business, or the people or the customers that you want to make sure are becoming affected, right? Because we want to make sure that we're providing the best service, but we want to make sure that our money is going into the right hands, right? Because at the end of the day, you can vote and not know where your vote is actually going. You can buy a product and not know where your money is actually going unless you follow the cash flow, you follow the flow of it, the currency. So that's what this is in detail about today. It's more so about following the flow and understanding the terminology of the words that's being used every day. Um, so, um, help me out as I kind of go through a lot of things that I've written down that I think is very essential to us, as far as learning and understanding the power and influence of our money, right? So, a stream is a running body of water by definition that flows above ground, depositing sediment, right, as it travels. So a stream can be permanent or it can be intermittent, right? It can be a permanent stream, or it can, the currency can kind of slow down at times and so forth. So um, as a relation, I like to relate Family Springs to being a stream. Okay, um, we provide a point of origin uh, into a resource, going into different communities, right? So a stream is a running flow of water. Okay, a stream originates from the source that moves through a channel, providing accessible resources for an ecosystem to survive. That's what we do with Family Springs. We take it from a natural organic source, and then we put it into a community that doesn't have those high quality, uh, or a business that doesn't have the availability of those high quality mineral waters, natural source mineral waters, right? Um, a channel, which is the most important part of a stream, right? So we realize that channels come through on TV, right? You can turn your channels. Um, those channels are important, right? Because the media outlets, they stream information, right? They stream information to those channels, right? So the channel is what feeds the people, okay? Feeds them information. So for Family Springs, our channel consists of like Desmond Island Soul Grill, Jaconi Cafe, Culture Coffee and Tea Bar, some of the local areas within the Hampton Roads, Virginia area where you can actually get Family Springs water from, right? Retail. We also have a few hair salons as well where you can actually purchase our water from as well, for the love of hair and textured by design. Um, those locations are our channels, okay, for you to actually access, get the water from, right? Um, what we do, and we find it to be our niche, is to find like-minded community individuals that are conscious about their surroundings and want to be able to uh, inflict change on the environment. So then that's what we partner up with them and do that. Okay, so how do you make a change? You can make a change by supporting local small businesses that actually have family springs um, within their operation. Okay, and I'm gonna explain how all that works. Right. See, with the channel being the most important part of the stream, because it represents a nurturing place for growth and development. Right. So. As a water flows into a different stream, it creates growth. This is one of those reasons why we travel all around looking for water. I say we, like I'm moving with them, you know what I mean? But why go to different planets looking for life, looking for water, to show as a sign of life, right? Because water is life, okay? And business is a place where we deliver our goods to reach our customers. Okay. A stream is a source of distribution that moves to and through a channel that provides accessible resources for a community to grow and sustain life. Okay. So this is a form of wealth distribution. All right. That wealth distribution is a channel. Okay. And this is why it's so important for us to understand where we're feeding our money to and where is it going. Okay, ultimately, that's the importance of this channel, and to tell you that you have the power more so than anybody else, anything else. Okay, our body is a microcosm of the environment, right? Of society in this environment. And I'm gonna explain this because through Egyptian philosophy and theories, right? We know that they were great astrologers, and they had a lot of information, right? And the largest way that they accessed a lot of that information was by examining the inner man. And when I say that, I mean that they cut their dead open and looked at basically the insides. And to understand the outside, you must first look within. That's where all that comes from, right? So when you understand how the ecosystem of the environment within the body basically reflects modern day society, okay? So as I dive in, just kind of follow along as I try to break down this aspect. All right. When there's a lack of water of hydration within the body, the brain must decide on the preservation of life. The brain in charge of water management. All right, so it is forced to redistribute water to areas that needs it the most to preserve life, and so it results to drying up channels surrounding organs. Okay, so brain first. One of its major jobs, I'm going to say first because the brain has a lot of operational functions to it, right? But it's the preservation of life, the sustaining life, to make sure that you're living, right? So it needs water to do that. So if you're not drinking enough water and not staying hydrated properly, then what the brain does is now has to redistribute the water or the fluids that are already in the body, even cut some systems down, and make sure that the brain is getting enough water and oxygen to make sure that it is able to sustain life to keep you going. So this affects the body in multiple ways, right? So when an area of the tissue surrounding the organ dries up in the area, becomes acidic or toxic, and it registers a signal back to the brain in the form of chronic pain, right? So once that area dries up, the brain basically goes into drought management, right? And the signal is alerted to the brain saying, oh, and you feel it as chronic pain, and saying, hey, look, I need some water. It's a toxic waste environment. And this is why I'm saying how this relates to the outside. I'm gonna get more into it later, but this relates more so to the inside. I mean, to the our environment, because that's how our environment works much the same way. When it becomes very toxic and acidic environment that we're living in, it affects us, right? So just how it affects us on the outside, it affects us in the inside, okay? So the body needs to hydrate. It needs water to be able to flush those systems out. And I'm going to go further into it, right? So a stream within the body can be known as the extracellular space, which is where water runs and flows throughout the body, carrying and depositing nutrients to many parts of the body's organs. Okay, so that extracellular space is a stream that provides nutrient and basically running water, right? That's what we said a stream is running water, right? And it runs throughout the body as a transportation system of nutrients to provide to certain spaces of organs and so forth, right? So, and then into the bloodstream, okay? And it also removes waste back outside of the body, right? So that's a constant stream that has to constantly move, okay? So now, the interstitial space is what I refer to as the channel, right? And we already said the channel is the what? The most important part of a stream, right? So watch how this is the most important part of the stream inside the body. Inside the tissues, it holds water. So right, remember the channel holds water. Inside the tissue holds water, right? That supports the cell's demand for the water resources that it needs. All right, which means it holds the sugars, the salts, the electrolytes, neurotransmitters. It holds all those different things inside the interstitial fluid, right? That surrounds the cell. Okay, so because cells and organs, they don't necessarily move, right? So that water has to be transported to them, right, from the stream, and then it has to basically create its own environment and hold water resources there, which is that channel, all right? And that channel provides the access for those cells to be able to feed and deposit in, okay? That's why a channel is so important. So if that environment of the cell from that tissue area that holds this water becomes contaminated, then it affects and kills the cell, all right? So the intracellular space is the component, is the compartment within each individual cell body. Each cell is composed of more than 60% water. Nutrients can be known as water energy banks, right? And I said water energy banks because water is an energy source, right? We all know that energy moves through waves within the water, okay? That's how you're able to determine the energy, right? Is through the currents of waves. With that being said, more water is stored within the cell than on the outside of the cell, right? So just like us, basically a large amount of our body, basically part of our body, we retain a lot of water. More than 60% of our body is made of water, and all of that is within inside the cell, right? And that cell needs that to operate, right? Because like I said, it has a lot of salts and potassiums and all those different types of things that creates and conducts electricity. All right, so not going to get really into that, but that is the form of currency, right? So the cell needs those things, not to get really into the cell on a supercellular level, but the mitochondria creates ADP for energy, right? To be transmitted, right? So with that, the water helps with that process, okay? So the water needs that. You need those electrical charges basically to rebuild and to regrow, okay? So without that constant flow of water within your body and in your system, then it doesn't generate enough electrical charge for your body to actually rebuild and regrow. All right. That's where that flow of currency is at in the body. Now watch how I'm going to take this outside the body, right? Because this is what we really want to know. How does this translate outside the body? Health is wealth, right? So dehydration conditions in society looks like poverty. Cracked sidewalks and potholes, streets abandoned buildings comes from a lack of resources to a community, which relates to an organ within the body. See, cells form tissues, and tissues form organs, right? And organs form organ systems. Okay, so within us, it works basically the same way. We're cells, and we form communities. A bunch of us together, we form a community, right? And then, which is a tissue, and then a tissue can form a city, or an organ system, right? And then we have a system where basically, conducts politics, basically on the government, right? So our body translates to that same on the outside, right? So when the environment is affected, the condition changes with which affects the people. So economic geography is the study of human economic behavior, right? And this is the definition, okay? Economic geography is the study of human economic behavior under varying sets of conditions which is associated with the production, the location, distribution, consumption, exchange of resources, and spatial organization across the world, right? Now that's by definition. And by design is made up the same way in your body. By design. So economic geography takes place in two specific areas of focus. It's the human civilization and its concentration to wealth, right? And it's the human body as it refers to as health, okay? So health is wealth. And we want to know basically like how do we change it, okay? Providing opportunity to be healthy by delivering our brand of high quality water to channels partners in our community, exclusively providing direct access to support their local businesses. All right. So this leads to growth and development from water resources, right? If we go ahead and put water, high quality brand of water into our communities, then we give them the opportunity of sustaining a better life, right? Through health. You have to affect them through health first in order to get to wealth, right? Now, the wealth part comes in designed by utilizing specifically those located areas within the impoverished area, all right? So we make sure that those areas are exclusive to getting the resources that they need so that other areas have to come to those areas to then get those resources. Now you generate the wealth, okay? Because everybody wants health. Everybody's chasing after health. So we put a healthy water into those impoverished areas that need it, or those small businesses or those areas of focus, right, to help generate and move some of the wealth, okay? The geography of our community is formed by groups of people within a region. So it's a mass or heap of people in a place, specific place at one time, right? A mass of people. This is defined as a bank, right? Now this is where it really picks up, right? So a bank, by definition, is the land alongside the river or lake, which is a mass or mound of a particular substance. By definition, a bank can be used to support, confine, or redirect the flow of currents, energy passing through water, okay? So along the river bank, a bank directs the flow of currency, right? So the bank is the sides of the that the water travels through, the side walls, okay? So The people make the bank because individually and collectively we are formed from a particular organic substance, right? Which are made from earth materials, and we possess stored energy in the inside of us as well, right? Um, our time is resources, right? What we allocate our time to is resources. So a riverbank directs the flow of currents. A bank directs the flow of currency, and a mass or mound of people is able to direct the currency flow of the stream, right? So just by the people supporting the channel helps to direct the flow of currency. So you have to ask for something, and by the way of asking is by showing what you're giving energy into, will then make that stream direct more of its sources into that resource. Okay, so and by understanding, this is more so like voting is one thing, right? But when the people start to ask for healthy changes, you know what I mean, then you have organizations like McDonald's and Burger King and all these other different fast food places that weren't really concerned about it before start changing their menus up, putting different food items, showing you the caloric intake on these things. So you have to ask by showing where you're spending your money at. Directs the flow of currency. Okay? So running water or cash flow is currency, and the energy is needed to produce electrical currents to cause stimulation within and without the body. Health is wealth. Okay? A bank is a conductor for the movement of electrical currents because it impacts the direction towards health or death. So how else is it going to stimulate an economy? Currency. Currency causes stimulation. Okay? Remember Frankenstein, right? He woke up through electrical currents going in through, and then he became alive. All right? So a bank in regards to the human body is considered to be the cell membrane, which is the outer layer of the skin, which holds in the moisture. Within the body, the cell membrane is the outer layer of the cell, which regulates the flow of water that passes through the cell, which causes electrical charges each time it passes through by water. So every time water crosses that cell membrane, it creates an electrical charge, right? Because you have positive ions on the outside and you have negative ions on the inside, okay? So just like a battery, to create a charge, you have positive and negative on two different sides. And this is what causes hydroelectricity to flow through your body as water runs through your body, because it moves those charges. And with those minerals that's in the water, those ions, it moves the charges, generating and conducting electricity through your body. Your muscles fill up with it. Piezoelectricity. As you energize and you hydrate and you work out, these things conduct and build life through the process of water. Okay? So you have to put the action into it along with the water to stimulate an economy. All right? So water is the stream of means that moves through channels supported by the bank. Energy moves as currency through the water, and the bank guides the flow, controlling the surge of the electrical charge with the power to stimulate growth of life. Poverty comes from a lack of resources, without a doubt. Lack of resources, I'm sure everybody knows that. Available to a group of people within an area. Water is the natural resource that is made to stimulate a malnourished environment. By providing a means to access organically sourced mineral water, we can stimulate the economy structure and give God water back to his people. This has been the Alkaline Man Family Springs, and really want you to conduct your flow appropriately, consciously. We're not after every dollar, but we do want the conscious one. All right. Peace and love. It's the Alkaline Man, Family Springs.